There was a pretty bizarre incident this last week at Epic Universe where a guest tragically died on one of the roller coasters. Now, when I first heard about this, I thought, okay, was it like a 70-year-old person? They had a heart attack, which that's still tragic, but it's a little bit more understandable. But then I started looking into this, and it seems like there's actually a lot more to it than just that. And in fact, the park may actually be responsible for this guest's death. But before we really get into all this, if you're new to the channel here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you can, leave a comment and hit the like button because it helps me out. Guest dies after riding Stardust Racers at Universal Orlando's Epic Universe. Cause of death ruled an accident. Now, this is coming from that park place, and just because they're saying the death is ruled an accident doesn't necessarily mean the park is free to blame. They could, at least we can learn later on down the road, that there might be some responsibility on the park's fault. So we'll just have to wait and see with that. But right now, there's not a whole lot of information about this incident, but there is some information that suggests that this isn't just a simple medical emergency that happened on one of the rides. There's a little bit more that went on with this. On Wednesday night, September 17, 2025, tragedy struck Universal Orlando's new Epic Universe theme park when a guest was found unresponsive after riding the park's signature Stardust Racers roller coaster. The man was transported to a local hospital where he was later pronounced dead. So right there, obviously that's an unusual situation, a person unresponsive. But like I said, I mean, if it's an older person who had a medical emergency, that's one thing, but then this is when it kind of got a little bit weird after the person went to the hospital. On Thursday, the Orange County Sheriff's Office identified the deceased as 32-year-old Kevin Rodriguez Salvala. So only 32-year-old. That's kind of young to have a medical emergency like this on a roller coaster. Dr. Joshua Stephanie, the chief medical examiner for the Orlando area, confirmed an autopsy was conducted. The cause of death was determined to be multiple blunt impact injuries, and the manner of death was ruled an accident. Now, that right there is what kind of throws me for a loop because, first of all, like I said, 32 years old, that's pretty young if you're going to have a heart attack. I mean, it's not unheard of. I mean, I've personally known of people at a younger age than that, even in their teens, who suffered some type of rare medical emergency. That kind of thing happens, but it's unusual. Still, this is an unusual situation at a theme park, so maybe that could be it. But then when they say the cause of death is determined to be multiple blunt impact injuries, that to me throws up a red flag. It's like, how would a person get multiple blunt impact injuries on a roller coaster? And if it is so dangerous where that can happen, why hasn't this happened before? The findings immediately prompted questions from the industry experts. Dennis Spiegel, CEO of International Theme Park Services, called the autopsy conclusion pretty shocking. He noted the lack of detail left many questions unanswered. Was it the head or the chest? Was he banging around? Was he in his seat properly? Was it an accidental cause by the ride or him doing something he asked? And that's another thing, because I have heard about this. I forget which ride it was on a Disney ride. I think it's the Matterhorn, where a guest stood up on the ride and ended up getting killed by hitting something. So obviously that was a blunt force trauma, but that was also the result of something the guest was doing. On this one, we don't know any other details, and I think that is kind of an important factor here. Was it blunt force trauma to the head or to the chest? They said it was multiple impacts from blunt force trauma, so he was hit multiple times. So what happened to cause that, and was it something that the guests did? Did they not sit in their seat properly? Did they not fasten the restraining harnesses on it? Or was there some other type of malfunction with the system itself? And that's what caused it. And right now, there's just a lot of questions that have no answers to it. Universal Orlando's resort has issued multiple statements on the tragedy. In its most recent release, the company said Universal is cooperating with Orange County Sheriff's Office following a tragic event involving a guest at Epic Universe on Wednesday night. The guest became unresponsive after riding Stardust Racers and was transported to the hospital, where the guest later died. We are devastated by this event and extend our sincere sympathies to the guests' loved ones. We are fully committed to cooperating with the ongoing investigation. The attraction remains closed. So yeah, now Stardust Racers is closed, and I think that is kind of a smart move on their part, because if there was something that went wrong with the ride itself, then that should be investigated in order to determine that no, everything's working properly, and maybe the incident itself was the result of something that the guest did, not to necessarily blame the deceased, but there are times where people act inappropriately on rides, and in normal circumstances, they won't necessarily result in any harm to them, but it can definitely result in harm. So they have to check everything to make sure that they can rule out that if there is any problems with the ride itself, that nothing else like this thing won't happen again to other people, because even though the park has been open since May and this ride has been going since then, this is the first time that we can see that there actually has been a death on it. So it does seem like there was just a rare circumstance, and we don't know if it's because something broke on the ride itself, or because this is just the first time a guest did something like, I don't know, stand up at a part where they're not supposed to stand up, and then as a result they got hit. Or maybe it could just be something else. Maybe during the ride a bird flew by and hit them, and that's what caused this. That might maybe it'd be kind of unusual for a bird strike to do this even at the speeds that the roller coaster is going in, but still I'm just trying to speculate on what this possibly could be, because like I said, this is not a normal thing. Florida's largest theme parks, including Universal, Orlando, and Walt Disney World, are exempt from state-run ride inspections. Instead, they self-inspect and are required to report any injuries or deaths to the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services if it results in at least 24 hours of hospitalization. Now, some people think like, oh, well, they're exempt from inspections, that's why this happened, they're cutting corners. And that's like, I would say the park itself policing their own rides is probably better in this circumstance than outsourcing it to a government agency that frankly doesn't care one way or the other. It's just some bureaucrat doing their job. But when the parks governing themselves in this manner, then if they're wrong, then they're liable for this. So I would say in this situation, it's probably better. And honestly, with their track record, that's actually pretty good. All things considered. Now, the article does talk about some other incidences that happened last quarter at the Universal, so it says in May, a 63-year-old man with a pre-existing condition experienced dizziness and an altered state of consciousness. So it seems like he's kind of blacking out on Stardust Racers. So the same ride, but I mean, it's a fast roller coaster, 63-year-old, little bit understandable, especially if he had a pre-existing condition. Maybe he didn't know about it, or maybe he didn't think it was going to be a big deal. On a separate day, a 47-year-old woman with a pre-existing condition reported a visual disturbance and numbness after the same ride. A 32-year-old man experienced chest pains after riding Hiccups wind gliders. So these are incidences that didn't result in deaths, but did result in hospitalizations that lasted more than 24 hours. Now, I found this report, it's the same period, or it's talking about the same period, because you see some of the similar things. May 25th, Hiccups wing gliders, 32-year-old male, chest pain. So it's written right here. So you can see this is the same report, and there's several other incidences on here. In total, there's been 7 within this reporting period from April to July of 2025. And if you scroll back in here, you can see that's a little bit elevated, 7. Then there's 3 from the previous period. What's this one? 7 from the period before that. Before that, there was 5. So it really does seem like there are a few incidences at the park for medical emergencies like this every now and then. So having something like this happen on the ride doesn't feel like it's anything necessarily unusual. The unusual nature is just the fact that it resulted in death, and the nature in which things happen, like these other ones where they're talking about it results from like some medical emergency. Some of these situations, they had pre-existing conditions. So we get why that happened, but because there's blunt force trauma involved with this one, the investigators really do have to figure out what went wrong with this ride, and if it is in fact safe to ride, or if there is situation because of the design of it, that there might be even a rare case, but a rare case of someone actually dying on it, because if that's the case, then things need to be worked out quickly. But let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. What do you think possibly happened on this ride that resulted in this death? And also, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you want to stay up to date with the latest entertainment news. And don't forget to click the like button and share the video out there, because it helps out with the channel. Thank you.